everybody, it's Iz here, and welcome to the Ashes Report, where I keep you up to date on the development of Ashes of Creation. On this episode, we got our first look at Alpha Zero. This is the friends and family test, and the devs ran us through a dungeon, also some open world stuff. It looks really great. Also, we got some blog posts talking about the City Hall and also the Mighty Beard taverns. We're going to check those out. Also, there's some dev Q&As with some really interesting information we want to get caught up on, like the app where you can connect in-game. That and a whole bunch more right now. Now, the first thing we got to talk about is the Alpha Zero gameplay, and there's a couple of different places you can check this out. I'll have links to everything down below. The first one we saw was Steven Sharif doing a live stream, and this was back in December. So because it was a live stream, the quality isn't, great, but you can check that out. That was our first look at the Alpha Zero. This is also the friends and family test, and they said it was about 4 times bigger than the PAX demo. So they've built a lot of environment. Now, there's very little in the way of quests. There's not a ton, right? They're just building the world and they're going to start to fill it up with stuff. Now, more recently, we got 15 minutes of high quality video from IGN, and there was no one else on the server, but they got to run around. You see a lot of the different biomes and different sorts of environments that they've been creating. And most recently, on the recent live stream they did, the developers, I think there was like 5 different developers, ran through their first iteration of the dungeon. This is a dwarven dungeon with some basic monsters in there. There was a big mob boss that they killed, and I think it looks really great. I mean, you need to compare this to other games that are in Kickstarter and in active development, right? You can't compare this to games that are out and release. You can't say, oh, Black Desert looks like this and WoW has all these dungeons, and right? I mean, that's just stupid. Look at other Kickstarter games like Chronicles of Illyria, Camelot Unchained, Crowfall, right? And look how fast and how much development they've done, and it's because they really have a clear-cut vision of what they want to do, and they're executing it. And so I'm really excited to see a project moving along so quickly. Now, if you want to get into Alpha Zero, that's not something you can buy into. The earliest package you can get is Alpha 1. Per the Kickstarters, that they said that should be the end of 2018, so still a ways off from that. To get into Alpha Zero, that is friends and family, or if you won one of the keys, right? So on the live streams when they're giving away keys, on their website, stuff like that. There's also going to be some content creators you see coming out with videos. I'm one of the content creators, so when they let us in, I'll be able to bring you some footage there. I'm really excited for that. Thank you, Intrepid. But that's going to be a little bit different. Remember, Alpha Zero and family, friends and family folks, they're helping to test the game a lot, right? This is the kind of stuff where they say, try to log into the server and break it, right? Spend an hour just clicking and trying to get in. And when you get in, do you get stuck on a loading screen and does it make your computer crash? And that's what you should expect from those kind of tests. Content creators, we haven't got in yet. They probably want to make it a little more polished. And once they let us in, I don't know how much footage we'll be able to put out. Obviously, there's still an NDA right now. They'll probably lift it a little bit. We might have maybe some restrictions or different things. So I don't know how much footage we're going to see. I doubt the NDA is just going to be completely removed and open the floodgates, but I will bring you as much footage as I possibly can. Next up, we got a couple blog posts to cover. The first one is titled The Mighty Beard, and this is talking about taverns in the game. Now, some of the stuff we already know. We talked about the buffs, the AoE buffs. So if you go to a tavern, you eat some food there, you get a buff just while you're in the vicinity. And this, again, is something I really like because it makes positioning very important, right? Everybody goes to this dungeon because it's really awesome, has great loot. The people who have taverns in that area are going to be very profitable because you get a buff at that tavern and then it helps you in the dungeon. So everybody is part of that, right? You want to be a part of the node that controls the dungeon. You want to be, have a tavern that's nearby there. So that's really awesome. They also talked about tavern voice chat, proximity voice chat. And some people complain like, oh, this is terrible. I got to listen to kids talk. Well, all you have to do is click a button to turn it off, right? I mean, it's not like they're going to force it on everybody and you can't turn it off. Obviously, there's going to be a way to mute that voice chat, but the reason it's so great is it builds community in that area. And that's what MMOs always were. That's what they were originally, was the most social, community-driven games back when EQ came out and Dark Age of Camelot and early WoW, right? They were the social games where you got to hang out with people and be part of this online community and world. And they've kind of lost that over the years, right? There's other games, battle royale games and even first-person shooters that have all this community stuff like voice chat where you can talk to the people. So I'm really excited to see voice chat in the game. They've also talked about queuing groups And so I wonder if it sounds like you're going to have to be at taverns or probably in nodes, but you're not going to be able to just queue for a dungeon anywhere in the world that you want. This is going to be a more, again, social sort of strategic thing where you got to go to a place, you got to sign up for the dungeon. I don't think it's going to be, some people complain like, oh, that's just so difficult and it's so hard. But when you have to walk to the dungeon and you have to form a party, again, that makes more community, which I'm really excited about. They're going to have parlor games, which we saw as part of the Kickstarter, so you'll be able to play parlor games and stuff. We'll talk about an app that you might be able to do that with a little bit later. And then also the battle map. They've talked just a little bit about this battle map and they haven't explained it, but it sounds like to get the most up-to-date information, you would need to obviously either see it firsthand, or if you're at, a tavern or something and someone else comes in with information, you would be updated. So maybe on your mini map or when you pull up your world map, right? Maybe it's kind of like Fog of War where it's kind of blank sometimes, but someone comes in and says, hey, there's a battle going on up here, or there's a trade caravan over here, and it would update you. Now, obviously that's not going to be the same forever because the battle ends and the caravans stop. So that's going to make it very interesting as far as if you want to know what's going on. I wonder how they'll do that though. With usually there's just like zone chat, right? Zone chat's super quick and easy. Hey, the northeast, there's a bunch of people, let's go kill them, right? So it'll be interesting to see how they work that out. Maybe there won't be any zone chat, and really to get up-to-date information, you either have to be in a group and see it, or with these battle maps. I don't know, a lot of interesting stuff there. Also, they talked about the city hall, and basically it looks like the city hall is going to be the center of all activity in a node, right? This is where you're going to make decisions as far as taxes and how the taxes get spent. If you're one of the, the leaders of that node, how you're going to spend it on, maybe defenses or crafting stations or quest givers and these sorts of things. They even gave an example of outlaws. So maybe there's a guild or people in your area who are always killing people, and this one guy is always PKing newbies. You make them an outlaw, and then people in your node know to kill that person. Maybe they get a reward. So some interesting stuff there. It really reminded me of like the auction houses in World of Warcraft, just because those are always such a central focal point, right? There's always so many people, tons of people there talking, chatting, trading, and that's what it looks like the city hall will be, just a real big hub of social activity, especially with voice chat. Again, one of those things where you can imagine walking into the city hall and hearing people talk about politics, right? Like well, not real world politics, hopefully, but in-game politics, like, are we going to attack that node? Do we want to ally ourselves with these guilds or these mercenaries, right? So that would be really interesting to hear and be a part of that conversation. Last thing we saw was a class list. We already knew the base classes, right? Like fighter and tank and cleric, but this shows the breakdown of all 64 class names. So remember, on the left side of the list is going to be your base class, and then across the top is going to be your secondary class, which augments it. And so I know some people are really excited about necromancer. There is a necromancer if you take a base class of summoner and have cleric, that is a necromancer. But remember, these are just class names. Just because it says necromancer doesn't mean it's going to be exactly the same as your favorite necromancer or paladin or cleric from any other game. Now, last but not least, I want to go over some of the live stream Q&As that they did. There's some really good questions. Also, there was a fly through the dungeon we saw earlier, and also the Underrealm, so that's what I'll be playing in the background. Now, one thing that Steven Shreve talked a lot about was the mobile app that they're working on, and a couple awesome things about this. One is they said this is not feature creep, right? It's not they got some money from Kickstarter and, oh, this would be a good idea, and it's not going to extend or change the scope of the game. This is something they've been planning the whole time, which is really great. If you've been following any other Kickstarter games, that can be a problem, but this is going to be something that's going to allow you to use your phone, to use your iPad, something, an app to connect in game to do a whole bunch of different things. We talked about the nodes earlier and the city hall. You'll be able to connect to that. So if you're one of the leaders, all your mayoral duties, also things like your freehold, right? Maintenance on there, maybe harvesting your wheat, or also parlor games. We talked about that's something you'll be able to play, hopefully parlor games on your app with other people who are in game, kind of cross platform, which is awesome. Maybe even in-game voice chat. You can connect to your phone, right? So you're on your way home from work, right? You're on the bus or in your car, whatever, hooked up in, through the app in game, like, hey guys, I'll be there in a little bit. Oh no, there's a bunch of traffic, whatever it is. This is another thing that just brings more social, more community into the MMO space, which I really, really love. And real quick, if you want a list of all of the questions asked during the Q&A, if you want to skim through it real quick and see if there's any questions that are interesting to you, instead of listening to the whole thing, go down below and click on the links. It takes you to the aocwiki.net. This is the best wiki that has all the information. They list out every question and all the answers the devs give. It's really the best place to find any information as far as AOC is concerned, and it's just awesome. Thank you so much for everybody that puts that together. Some of the good questions I saw, one person asked about controller support, and they said, no, not out of the box. This isn't going to be something that's in-game supported, but of course you can always map your controller and try to use it itself. I know some people like using controllers, but what I like is the fact that they're not wasting development time making this a console port. This is a PC game for a mouse and keyboard, which is the way I like it. Thank you. Please spend your time making those as good as possible. Also, one person asked, what about the mage levitation and the rogue climbing skill? Were those just for show? Are they going to be in the game or not? And Steven Sharif said, don't really take that, whether they're in or out of the game, to be like the final be all end all, right? He said that, you know, the levitation, they want to have that sort of thing in there. They took it out because other classes don't have that yet. Those sort of utility skills, plus they haven't balanced it. So it's not very fair to have a mage with this levitation skill and then no one else has their utility abilities, right? But that is still the idea, for them to have utility skills like the rogue being able to climb and things like that. So don't think they pulled a fast one on you. They didn't just show you something cool and then pull it out. They still plan on having that in the game as well. Another person asked, what about cheating? How are they going to combat cheating in the game? And I really love their answer. Steven Sharif said they talked to another company who does a lot of that sort of security and back-end stuff, and he gave an example how a lot of other games go to them and say, hey, we have this problem, the game's getting ready to launch, is there anything you can do to help us? And the other company was like, it's kind of too late, right? Like if you would have told us beforehand, this is like way harder, takes a lot more time and money, you know, and that's what Steven Sharif and Ashes of Creation, that's what they're doing now, is they're partnering with these other companies to make sure they get it in as soon as possible. Now, I know a lot of other games say that, like, oh yeah, our cheating will be fine, no problem, but the fact that they're talking about it this early, kind of calling out other companies, right, putting them on blast, saying they did it badly, this is the sort of thing where they're either doing it great, or down the line we can say, you said this, what's up with that, right? So I like their confidence, I like that they're working it, and we don't want the game ruined by cheaters and exploits and stuff like that, right? Another question was if there's going to be guild size limitations. They say yes, there will be a guild size limitation. You can't have a guild of 2,000 people, which it kind of sucks when you're that person that gets left out because the guild size, and you go to, like, you know, you're on the secondary guild or whatever, you know what I mean? I don't want that. But at the same time, these massive Zerg guilds that are just mindless, you know, streamer guilds where there's 3,000 people and it's just like, let's go over here, and you can't stop them because there's so many people, right? We want a little bit of coordination. So I doubt they're going to make that number so low where it's a hindrance to people. I'm imagining probably a couple hundred people, maybe 300, 400, 500 people. We'll have to see, but not unlimited. And this is the last question, big topic of conversation. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, thanks for sticking around, because this question has everybody talking. It's the combo bar. If you remember in the PAX videos, they had the combo bar, and you would have to time your attacks to match up to get combo and build up your ultimate. And the newest videos don't show that at all. And you have a bunch of people like, yay, see, it was terrible, we win, we're the best armchair developers ever, people who've never played the game or even set foot in the building, and they were declaring it as a victory for the internet, yay. But really what it is they're still working on that system, they're iterating on it. They took it out because they didn't have it where they wanted it to be. So the combat that's in the game now is the most basic, simple, push a button, that's it. They want to put it back in once they have it working better, once they have a UI that's more conducive to the gameplay, once it looks better and feels better and it's more enjoyable. But that's their plan, is always to put it back in and make it great. Now, if it's not good, if they can never get it in a place that is fun and enjoyable, they're not going to leave a terrible mechanic in the game, obviously. But the idea is to put it in there so it's not just boring. hit your auto attack button, right? They want some sort of thought process, some sort of skill to be involved, which is the thing that I always liked about that system. Now, again, if it's bad, we're not going to have it and we don't want it. But if they can have something where there's combo and timing and skill and good players are rewarded for playing good, that's a good thing. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. To see my most recent video, click there on the left. Another one you might like is on the right. To subscribe, click that button in the middle. And thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.